And also, can I get two of the hot? Yeah. That's it.
Yes. When Véronique Marvienne came to London, she brought with her French confectionery craftsmanship. But cracks are beginning to show in her chocolate lover's dream as Britain heads towards Brexit.
It's quite challenging at the moment because, as you know, the pound is a little weak, and because I pay all my invoices in euro, so the differences in currencies, it affects quite a lot my business. So I hope I'm not going to pay more tax for the business, and I hope UK will stay in the single market because I import all my products from France, so I hope it will be easy to import the products.
In 22-23.
There was no bonanza of giveaways in the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Philip Hammond's spring statement on the health of the economy, but the message was clear: Britain is open for business.
We are delivering on our plan with a balanced approach, restoring the public finances, investing in our economy and our public services, raising productivity through our modern industrial strategy, building the homes our people need, tackling the environmental challenges that threaten our future, embracing technological change, seizing the opportunities ahead as we build our vision of a country that works for everyone.
I mean, it was always designed to be an update on the economic situation of the country and allow, a bit of ideas around the edge in terms of consultations. We heard a little bit more about tax consultations, about the scourge of plastics, one-use plastics ruining the environment. So there's a little bit of colour out of it, but really it was an opportunity for him to show that, look, our borrowing is down, we're doing better, growth can be revised up, we're in a stronger position.
The focus for Hammond is on opportunities ahead and keeping taxes low.
The UK economy might be in better shape, but the Chancellor's not about to flash the cash and go on a spending spree. He's taking his characteristic measured approach to make sure there'll be enough in the pot to cope with whatever Brexit brings.
Yeah. You have this one with salted caramel.
But will that long-term outlook have a shelf life?
My concern it's about French people, because most of my customers are French, and maybe they are going to leave UK, and I think they already started to leave UK.
And that could leave a bitter taste for firms struggling to survive and thrive in post-Brexit Britain. Juliet Mann, TRT World, London.
So let's take a closer look at the highlights of Hammond's speech. He says the economy is expected to grow 1.5% in 2018, which is slightly up from the 2017 forecast, but he predicts GDP growth will slow to 1.3% in 2019 and 2020. The budget deficit is forecast to fall to 2.2% of GDP this year from 2.4% last year, and it'll be reduced even further to 1.1% of GDP by 2022. And the final divorce bill from the European Union is being put at $51.6 billion, although the opposition Labour Party says it's impossible to predict the full effect of Brexit. So let's get more on all this now. From London, and joining us is Guy Shone. He's the CEO of research company Explain the Market. Guy, great to have you with us once again. So spreadsheet Phil rides again. He says the economy is doing slightly better than his previous forecast, but is anyone really buying all of this?
Well, look, there is good news on growth, 1.5% predicted in 2018. There's quite good news on borrowing, although this drop down to 45 billion is not as good as many had hoped for. And there are some encouraging forecasts that wages will finally start to outgrow inflation in the second quarter. But I think that the Chancellor's rather presumptuous to pronounce himself as bouncing with Tigger-like confidence when this stubborn problem of productivity just doesn't seem to be going away. The OBR dismissed the slight recent improvement as an anomaly, a nice surprise, based more on hours worked being weaker rather than anything on the positive side of the equation.
Yeah, you might call this the Winnie the Pooh spring statement, really, mightn't you? Look, with all the likelihood of a global trade war, should investors be pricing in a higher risk of a UK recession, given everything that we've heard today?
Well, I think not necessarily. I think there are some very positive signs, and I think this cautious approach is probably the right strategy, given the fact the UK is now really entrenched in complex divorce negotiations with the EU. I think the problem he's got, though, with productivity, and particularly the way it's impacting medium-sized businesses, is something he's going to have to get to grips with. I mean, the policy ideas that were announced today, I think, were interesting. You know, talking about helping medium and small firms sort of get paid on time, tax breaks for the least polluting van drivers, ideas to help the least productive firms learn from the most productive. All interesting ideas, you know, and we do know from studies like the recent Ambition Nation report that medium-sized firms are looking for more support. The problem is, though, this productivity puzzle has been getting people scratching their heads for quite a few years now. You know, is it the effect of low interest rates that have stifled innovation? Is it a problem of training and development? Is it even a technology-driven problem where we've sort of run out of steam? This boost of digital tech has finally run out of steam, and we need new things like blockchain and AI to come in and sort of revitalize the economy. Right. We've got some major problems that we need to figure out how to solve, I think, before we can be fully confident that the road ahead is a successful one.
Guy, let me ask you a more fundamental question, though. With all of these headwinds coming up, you've got Brexit, you've got a potential trade war. Isn't this the time to be unleashing the reins on spending in order to keep the economy buoyant? Yes, there is going to be a hit to the finances, but isn't that, in the long run, going to be what Britain needs to see it through Brexit?
Well, the challenge that Hammond has got is that his team would argue this is the first time we've really seen the fact that this potential investment might be available to do that. So he wants to be cautious. He doesn't want to declare his hand too much because, as I say, he's knee-deep in these negotiations. There's also opinion is split on what he should be investing that money in. There are those who are calling for more infrastructure investment, and then there are those who are much more focused on what you might call sort of wealth redistribution approaches, and obviously supporting the National Health Service. So he's in a situation, I think, where he's quite deliberately been cautious, but, you know, time's going to tell whether actually all he's really done is deferred this problem to later when the budget comes later in the year.
All right, we'll leave it there. Guy Shone of Explain the Market, thank you very much indeed.